Today I'll talk about the different parts of an essay. When you're designing your essay, think of the essay as having different parts. So I'm going to use the standard 5-paragraph essay as an example here, and consider the essay as consisting of 3 different types of paragraphs. The first paragraph will be the introduction paragraph. So, as we've discussed in prior classes, in the process of writing, we typically begin with an outline. After we brainstorm certain ideas, we come up with certain word associations for trying to generate ideas that we want to write about. Then we generally go and move to an outline or a graphic organizer. For those of you who are more visual learners, you then begin to take those ideas from your brainstorming activity and bring those into some orderly fashion, either through, again, an outline or graphic organizer. Today we'll use an outline to discuss the parts of an essay. So we have an introduction paragraph, and at the end we have a conclusion paragraph. Now in this case, since we have a 5-paragraph essay, we will also have 3 different body paragraphs. So think of an essay as having 3 different types of paragraphs: an introduction paragraph, a body paragraph, and a conclusion paragraph. So if we look at the introduction paragraph, think of the introduction paragraph as having 3 different sections as well. It begins with a hook. Now the hook could be a famous quote. It could be a question, or it could be a statistic or some interesting fact that grabs the attention of the audience. Regardless of the type of hook that you use, the idea is to grab the attention from the very first sentence. And typically our hook consists of only one sentence. Once you've created a hook, then you provide some sort of background. Now, depending on the type of essay that you're writing, you can think of the introduction as providing background information. Maybe you provide some sort of context if you're talking about a problem. Any type of historical background that needs to be laid out before you actually discuss the details or your thesis. The last section of the introduction, or the last sentence of your introduction, is the thesis statement. And the thesis statement is one sentence that is the main idea of your entire essay. So regardless of the type of essay that you have, you should have a thesis statement or one sentence that is the main idea. And typically we want to include that at the end of the introduction. After we've hooked the audience, provided some sort of a context or background to the information, and then leads into the thesis. So you want to link the hook to the thesis statement by way of the background information that you provide in the introduction. Now I'm going to jump down to the conclusion, and then we'll discuss the body paragraph last. The conclusion paragraph, you can also think of it as including 3 different sections. So as we finished the introduction paragraph with the thesis statement, we want to begin our conclusion paragraph with restating the thesis statement. By restating the thesis statement, I mean rewording it, paraphrasing the same idea that you included in the thesis statement in the introduction, and bring that into the very first sentence of your conclusion. So you're basically repeating the same idea, but putting it in different words. So you're going to reword it. So I'll put here restate, or in parentheses, reword the thesis statement. After you've restated the thesis statement, again, just one sentence, then you will provide the significance. So once you have stated the thesis statement, you will discuss the significance of your work, any big ideas or connections that link this idea to some other context. If you're doing some sort of research, you might also discuss further research, or looking forward, what might someone do with this information in the future. So think of the conclusion after you've restated your thesis statement as looking forward as to how can someone benefit from knowing this information from your essay and what might be kind of the broader scope of this idea in other contexts in future experiences. And then the final sentence of your conclusion paragraph will be the concluding statement. So just as you began with a hook that grabbed the attention, you also want to finish on a good note, so to speak. You want to finish with a very strong statement that really wraps up your essay. So just one thing to keep in mind in the conclusion statement is you typically don't want to include anything new in the sense that you don't want to include any new data, new details to what you stated in the body paragraphs. It's more taking and summarizing what you have discussed prior and looking forward and linking those ideas to some other context, some other, again, big ideas, or what is really the significance or relevance. You could add also here, what is the relevance of what you are asserting here in your essay. Moving on now to the body paragraphs. In this case, since we have a 5-paragraph essay, we're going to have 5 body paragraphs, and each body paragraph is going to discuss one idea. Now, in each body paragraph, you can think of developing a body paragraph in terms of the meal plan. And you can get more information on the meal plan by searching meal plan and paragraph development. If you do a Boolean search using the operator and search for these 2 key terms, you will get this web page, and this explains a little bit more in detail what I mean by the meal plan. But essentially, it's an acronym that means main idea, evidence, analyze, and link. So when you're developing a paragraph, the idea is to create sentences of each of these types. So when we begin a sentence, we typically want to start with the main idea first. So the first sentence will be our topic sentence, or a sentence that contains the main idea. Then we have supporting sentences that we can call evidence. We might call them also detailed sentences. You might provide examples, facts, etc., that all link to this one main idea. We also have sentences that analyze, and by analyzing could mean compare and contrast. So we might compare and contrast some of the evidence. We might also use these types of sentences to link evidence to the main idea. So look at it as really tying the examples and details that you provide here again to the main idea. What you want to do is make sure that it's very clear the reasoning and relevance of these evidence or these details that you provide with regard to this one idea. You might also use these types of sentences to compare and contrast details that maybe were presented in prior paragraphs. Now the last sentence, especially when we're dealing with a 3-paragraph essay where we have one body paragraph that leads into another body paragraph, we have to link, that is, link the idea that you presented in this body paragraph with the main idea that is presented in the next body paragraph. Sometimes this final sentence is also a kind of a summary of the ideas presented here as well. But especially when you are dealing with various paragraphs and you're moving from one paragraph to the next, this last sentence really should try to link one idea to the next. Perhaps this last body paragraph where the conclusion follows, you might have a summary sentence instead of a linking sentence that summarizes what you mentioned in the paragraph. Think of the paragraph as a mini essay. Just as we have a thesis statement for the entire essay or the main idea for the entire essay, we also have a topic sentence or the main idea for the body paragraph, and we have here details, evidence, for example, analyze, and we link or summarize within the body paragraph. So think of the body paragraph as you develop it completely as a mini essay. So these are the general parts of an essay, and as you see here, we also have different parts of paragraphs that we should consider. And one final note on body paragraphs, and I'll leave this note here at the bottom, that when we do create body paragraphs, we want to consider unity, coherence, and cohesion. Unity simply means that you're talking about one idea throughout the body paragraph. So you want to stay on topic. You want to make sure you develop only one topic for the body paragraph. It's been my experience that the hardest part in developing a body paragraph is establishing the main idea. The tendency is to delve right into evidence or examples right off the bat from the very first sentence. So make sure that you set up each paragraph with a strong topic sentence that gives the reader the idea of the single idea that you're going to discuss in that body paragraph, and then make sure that you talk about that one paragraph throughout. We also have coherence, which is basically making sure that the ideas from the one sentence to the next follow a certain logical order. And there are different ways of creating order. For example, it can be chronological. So, for example, if you are creating one paragraph that is based on time and you're discussing something that came first and something that came second, and let's say that you inadvertently mixed up the order, or maybe you didn't present it in an orderly fashion, that you jumped around the dates and it was not chronological, then you would have a body paragraph that was not coherent because you didn't follow a logical order. So make sure that your paragraphs are coherent. Another example of coherence might be moving from the general to the specific, or the specific to the general. If you decide that you want to follow one of those two orders, you just need to make sure that you indeed follow that order. If you mix up and start jumping around and you aren't following a certain logical order, then it gets very difficult for the reader to understand what you want to say. Another example might be the theoretical to the practical, or the practical to the theoretical. Again, another example of coherence, making sure that you follow a certain order. And you can mix these types of patterns throughout each paragraph. So depending on the assertion that you have for each body paragraph, that will determine really which pattern that you want to use. And so make sure you consider that and reflect on that when you are developing your body paragraph. Cohesion is simply connecting sentences and making sure that you have a good flow from one to the next. And two simple examples of cohesion would be the correct usage of sentence connectors. So if you're moving in chronological order and you're trying to write coherently, moving through a series of time tables, then you want to make sure maybe that you use certain connectors. For example, first I did this, then we did this, and you're using certain connectors in that way, and you're offering better flow from one sentence or one idea to the next. Another example would be using theme and reme. Theme being the established information, or the information that typically comes first, with the new information. You can look at any sentence and determine what information came first, or the theme, and what is the new information that's being introduced, which is the reme. All sentences create or offer new information, and that new information comes from prior information. So, for example, if I say Tom likes basketball, well, Tom would be the theme, and likes basketball would be the reme. And so the idea here being that Tom typically he's the main idea. He typically came first, right? So Tom was present. He was born. He became a human being before he began to enjoy the sport basketball. So if I were to then look at cohesion, and I want to create a sentence first that states Tom enjoys basketball, then I have two patterns or two ways that I can create the second sentence that reflects good cohesion. So let's see this as an example. Tom likes basketball. So here's my first sentence. And from here I have basically two options with regard to ream and theme. I can use the same theme, in this case Tom, or I can transition and change the ream from this sentence, likes basketball, to the theme in the second sentence. So let's create a sentence here where I use the same theme. So the same theme would be Tom likes basketball. Now, so I don't repeat his name, I can use a pronoun, and I might say he also enjoys spending time with his friends. So the second sentence, he is the theme, the main idea. Again, he came first if you want to look at it chronologically. The new information being introduced in the second sentence is he also enjoys spending time with his friends. So in this case, I have used the same theme, but I'm offering a new ream. Now the third sentence, again, I have two options. I can use the same theme, or I can change and use the ream from the prior sentence and change that to the theme. So let's try that option. This will be our second option. So it might look something like this. So in this third sentence now, what I've done is I have transitioned and moved the spending time with his friends, essentially friends being the ream from the second sentence, and I have moved that to being the theme in the third sentence. So some of his friends like basketball, but others do not. So some of his friends is now the theme, like basketball, while others do not, would be the new information or the ream. So here you see two examples of ream and theme, and think of ream and theme as being cohesive devices. These are ways to connect the sentences, and this gives your writing a good flow because you're connecting one idea to the next. Notice that I'm not using necessarily any sentence connectors. Certainly sentence connectors is another way that you can use cohesive devices, but the idea is to try to think of both in terms of sentence connectors and ream and theme when you are developing a paragraph so that you have good cohesion. So when you're developing body paragraphs, remember unity, coherence, cohesion. When you're writing an essay, make sure you consider the three types of paragraphs and how to develop each distinct type of paragraph as shown here. Today we'll use an outline to discuss the parts of an essay.